We all know Amazon, right? It's that smiling brown box that shows up on your doorstep. It's the movie you streamed last night. It's the cloud that's literally powering half the internet. But what's the real engine behind it all? Today, we're going to crack open the brilliant and, yeah, sometimes brutal logic of Bezonomics to really understand the operating system that's quietly running in the background of all our lives.
So, let's just start with the biggest question of all. What is Amazon's end game here? What do they really want? You might think, oh, to sell me everything. But that's not even close to the full picture.
The story you'll hear from Jeff Bezos himself is this fanatical, almost religious devotion to the customer. I mean, who's ever said they wish Amazon was more expensive or slower? Nobody! It's a simple, incredibly powerful promise, and it's the foundation of the Amazon that we all think we know.
Bezos boils it all down to these three things, and he insists these aren't just, corporate buzzwords on a poster. He says most companies are obsessed with their competitors, always looking over their shoulder, but Amazon is built differently. It's built to focus on what a customer might want 10 years from now, which gives them the freedom to invent things we haven't even thought to ask for yet.
And you can't argue with the results. This whole strategy has woven Amazon deep into the fabric of our lives. Get this, 52% of households in the US have an Amazon Prime membership. That is, slightly more than the number of households that regularly go to church. It's not just a store anymore. For a lot of people, it's basically a utility.
Okay, but that customer obsession, as real as it is actually the result of a much deeper, much more ambitious goal. According to the book Bezonomics, what Amazon truly wants is to build the most intelligent, data-driven, and automated company in history. The goal isn't just to sell you stuff, it's to know what you're going to want before you even do.
So how do they do that? How do you build the smartest company? Well, the secret is a concept called the flywheel. Picture a gigantic, heavy metal wheel. At first, it takes a massive amount of effort just to get it to budge. But if you keep pushing, consistently, it starts to spin. And it gets a little easier, and then a little easier, until that momentum takes over and it becomes this unstoppable force that spins on its own.
And this is what Amazon's original flywheel looks like. It's a beautiful, self-reinforcing loop. It starts with lower prices. That brings in more customers. More customers on the site? Well, that attracts more sellers who want to reach them. More sellers means a way bigger selection of stuff, which makes the customer experience even better. All that growth and traffic helps Amazon lower its costs, which lets them do what? You guessed it, lower prices even more. Every single part feeds the next, making the whole wheel spin faster and faster.
But here is the real Bezonomics secret sauce. Bezos didn't just copy the flywheel concept, he gave it a massive upgrade. He injected artificial intelligence and machine learning into every single step of that loop. So now, the flywheel doesn't just spin on its own momentum, it learns. With every single rotation, it gets smarter, faster, and more efficient. It's a learning machine.
And if you think that's just a fancy term, check this out. Amazon has over 10,000 employees working on just one thing, Alexa. That's like an entire city of engineers and data scientists whose only job, every single day, is to make just that one piece of the AI flywheel smarter.
And that AI-powered flywheel is what gives this famous, or maybe infamous, Bezos quote its real teeth. When Amazon looks at another industry and sees big, cushy profit margins, it sees a place where it can unleash its super-intelligent, ultra-efficient model and basically turn that industry inside out.
And we've seen this invasion playbook run over and over again. They build some incredible internal tool to solve their own problems, like computing power. They perfect it, make it the best in the world, and then they turn around and offer it as a service to everyone else. That's how Amazon Web Services, AWS, was born. And now, we're seeing the exact same thing happen with their shipping network, their advertising business, and even their big push into healthcare.
But this kind of disruption creates a really serious problem. Let me tell you about a guy named John Morgan. He built a great business selling these travel bags on Amazon. But the platform's AI saw his bag was a bestseller. And pretty soon, boom, Amazon launched its own, nearly identical, cheaper version, stuck it at the top of the search results, and basically used Morgan's own success data to crush him. It's a tough reality for anyone selling on the platform.
But, and this is the paradox, despite stories like that, more sellers are flocking to the platform than ever before. In fact, these third-party sellers now make up the majority of physical goods sold on Amazon. So for all the incredible risk, the reward, getting access to that massive global customer base, is just too big to pass up for millions of entrepreneurs.
And that right there, that brings us to the fundamental trade-off of Bezonomics. On one hand, for us as consumers, the promise is just amazing. A world of incredible convenience, low prices, and innovation. But the other side of that coin is the peril. the sheer scale of creative destruction it causes, which brings up all these huge fears about job losses and what happens to competition.
This all goes back to one of those 3 pillars, being genuinely long-term. And to do that, you have to get really comfortable with big, expensive failures. Remember the Fire Phone? That was a spectacular billion-dollar flop, but Bezos sees those moments as tuition payments. The incredibly expensive lessons they learned from the Fire Phone's failure were absolutely essential for the huge success of the Echo and Alexa later on. To get those big wins, you have to be willing to bet billions on ideas that just might crash and burn.
Now, when we talk about how powerful Amazon is, this context is absolutely crucial. Yes, they are the king of e-commerce, no question. But e-commerce itself is still just one piece of the total retail pie. When you look at the entire US retail market, including every Walmart, Target, and mom-and-pop shop, Amazon's share is a much smaller 4%. And this is really the core of the whole debate over whether Amazon is a monopoly. It all comes down to which market you're looking at.
So, in the end, Bezonomics has built this incredible AI-driven machine that delivers unbelievable value. It really is becoming the operating system for modern life. But as this system gets smarter and smarter, as it wraps its arms around more and more of our world, we're left with this one fundamental question. The Everything Store promises to give us anything we could possibly want delivered to our door tomorrow, but it forces us to ask ourselves, what's the final price we're willing to pay?